His book, Fool's Rule, suggests that the predominant attitude towards climate change action is what's in it for me. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton, and welcome to WatchMojo.com. And today we're speaking with investigative journalist and author William Marsden about the politics of climate change. Tell us about Fool's Rule inside the failed politics of climate change.
Well, Fool's Rule concentrates mostly on the politics that has been going on an international level around the world. I traveled to all of their meetings over the last 3 years. And what it tries to show is basically why it's been such a failure. What is actually happening at these meetings? You get 192 countries, all of which are bringing their own vested interests to the table. They're not really negotiating climate change, they're negotiating a trade agreement. So Canada, for instance, doesn't want to harm its oil sands. China wants to keep its growth at the highest level it can. India also, ditto all the emerging countries such as Brazil, South Africa, etc. The United States wants to keep its superpower status. They want to make sure that its economy continues to grow also. Ditto Europe. All of these things are brought to the table of a climate change agreement, but the trouble is that climate change doesn't care about your oil sands. It doesn't care about your need for jobs. It doesn't care whether the oil sands are ethical or not. And it doesn't care about Australia's need to sell coal. All it cares about is how many CO2s and other greenhouse gases are you putting up into the atmosphere. And when you put up so much or too much or a certain level of it, then it dictates to you how much you have to decrease in order to basically save your species. It demands a complete revolution, a social revolution, a political revolution, how we do politics, how we do geopolitics, our international politics, putting our personal interests aside as human beings and as nations, etc., to tackle this really vital problem. We're not doing any of that. We just want to continue with business as usual. Just like as individuals, we want to continue with our normal lives. Nobody wants to sacrifice anything.
Are you suggesting that the governments are corrupted, and if so, by what?
In parallel to the rise of concern over climate change, there has been an almost takeover of our democracy by the corporate world, which is desperate to protect its interests. I'm talking about big oil and gas, the pipeline companies, refinery companies, the utility companies, all of which are the engines of our industry and have been the engines of industry for the last 200 years. These companies have succeeded, particularly in the United States, but very much in Canada also, in getting their man into office and getting their views across. Climate change undeniably challenges the worldview of the right wing, that everybody is an individual and should make his own life and should have the freedom to do just that. It challenges that. It says you can't do that anymore. So you have a very powerful reaction from the right wing against any action to curb emissions or any action to even recognize that climate change, man-made climate change exists. So that is a huge hurdle.
So you've mentioned a lot of countries that are doing very little, but what countries are doing the most towards climate change?
Well, I would say that Europe seems to be doing the most, but you can't take Europe as a block. There's particular countries in Europe that have been very intelligent about this. Germany is one of them. Germany has created a very exciting clean energy industry, which is now a billion-dollar industry and employs tens of thousands of people in Germany. Denmark is the same. At the same time, they're growing their economy. So they have proved that you can actually expand your economy through clean energy.
Do you think we will make the necessary changes before it's too late?
Well, some people think it is already too late, but we have to ignore that. We have to think of future generations. If you took all the cars off the road of the world today, you're not going to change anything in the near term. You will change a great deal in the long term. The key thing here is instead of to argue about our different interests in the world, etc., is every country has to sit down and chart out a path for itself in every industrial sector, every city, every social sector, etc., to bring in all the experts of these fields, just like they do, before the Second World War and during the Second World War. Use all of that talent to try and chart and plan a clean energy future. That's where the energy has to be, and we're not doing that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.